Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, how do you know when it's time to hire an operational consultant? We'll talk to a leading national expert next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I remember when I started this company in my home back in 2008, I was wearing all the hats. I was the sales guy. I was the operations guy. I was the guy changing the ink cartridge in the printer. And thankfully now, 14 years later, I've got 20 full-time employees, and I've got processes that make my life blissfully wonderful. And so to talk about processes, I've got George Mayfield in studio. He's with Frameworks Consulting. Thanks for coming on the show.
I'm honored to be here, Jeff.
Yes, I wish I needed you like 14 years ago. Well, heck, I might still need you if you look at what we do here. But George, tell us, how you got into this.
Yeah, so I come from a family of entrepreneurs, and so I've seen a lot of businesses be successful, and I've seen a lot of businesses fail. And, so I spent some time in the military and learned a lot about operational processes and things like that. And then I went to college and I got my MBA. And I decided when I was in college that I wanted to help entrepreneurs to know what they didn't know. And so I wanted to be a consultant. I thought I would work for a big consulting company one day. But once I got out, I started really working for some small and medium businesses and fell in love with them. And I really think that small business is the backbone of America, and I wanted, thinking back to my family and the entrepreneurs that I grew up around, I wanted to help entrepreneurs that were just like them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie, The Founder, and that was about McDonald's and how that grew. And you and I were talking about that off camera. Mm-hmm. That's a process movie, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the things that he did to grow that little restaurant, from one restaurant to so many, was amazing.
Absolutely. Now you also have a consortium. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the consortium was something that I came up with about a year ago, and it's my answer to scaling out myself even. So when I would consult with business owners on their operational processes on their company, I would often find that I was really integrating just people within their company, but also other service providers, other businesses. I'm really integrating all of these things to create a team for that business owner. And so I found that a lot of small businesses really can operate like an enterprise company if they have that support. So I created the consortium to answer that and be able to help entrepreneurs to go from entrepreneur to enterprise pretty much overnight.
And I love it that you share the gold, you give the tips away. We're going to go onto your blog site because I love the way you write. And as we scroll down, how are you inspired? How do you know what to write about?
I oftentimes find things in the world and I relate them back to business because I'm always thinking about businesses and what they could do to be better. And sometimes I haven't written a blog about it yet, but a lot of times I go to a concert and I'll see you've got the lead singer and you've got the various people up on the stage playing instruments, and sometimes the lead singer will allow the guitarist to have a solo and he kind of steps aside and lets the light shine, and some of the things like that. I'm sitting there enjoying the concert and I'm thinking, man, this is a lot like business.
Yes. I bet you can't turn it off. When you go to a restaurant, are you always kind of looking at the process saying, why did she do it that way?
Yes. Yeah, I went to Disney World one time and, it's, the most fun I had was just watching how, because if you've ever been there, that place runs like a clock. you know, and I had more fun just watching how it was being run and kind of peeking behind the curtain than I had, you know, riding roller coasters and all that stuff.
Absolutely. You're also a very popular podcaster. You're invited on a lot of podcasts.
Thank you.
You love to do this and educate people, don't you?
Yeah, I love meeting people. I network a lot here in Dallas, and I love to just help people in whatever way I can. And I think that there's a message out there that entrepreneurs really need to hear, that they're really not alone, and they don't have to be alone. That they can bring in other providers to help them with the various parts of their business, and it really doesn't even have to cost that much. You know, they don't have to hire a COO to come in full time and take ownership of their company, and, you know, get ownership points and, you know, the vacation, all those things that they take, right? If you could just bring somebody in a fractional sense, and they can really help out in that company.
And speeding up processes really helps the bottom line. I'm going to use this as an example, the Postal Service. It's an example of what not to do. I mean, how many times have you come in to mail a package and the line has like 30 people in it, and there's one person having lunch, and there's one, right? Does it drive you crazy?
Yeah, absolutely. I try not to go there.
But to my point, I mean, if you see a line of 30 people waiting to mail a package, you're standing in that line.
Yeah, very true.
You're going to go to FedEx or something.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the coffee shops, I see that sometimes, right? You go and you see a line, and, you know, most people, maybe half the people there are there to get some sort of fancy drink that needs to be mixed and prepared and things like that. But then there's also people in line that just want a cup of regular coffee, right? So sometimes when I'm standing in those lines, and I'm usually the regular coffee guy, I'm thinking, you know, if we just had like a speed line over here for the guys that just, you know, want a cup of coffee to be quickly poured, and they could be on their way, that would shorten that line. So yeah, you're right. I never can turn this off.
You know, before I came to Dallas, I worked in Minnesota, and that was the home of Pillsbury, which owned Burger King. And my experience at Burger King's have been kind of hit and miss, but I went one time to the Pillsbury building in downtown Minnesota, downtown Minneapolis, and they had a Burger King in the lobby, and I thought to myself, well, this is where the big cheeses come down to eat. So I'm assuming they're on point.
Right.
When I ordered a Whopper, I said I would like a Whopper. I couldn't even get per out, and it was there.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm sharing that story because there are processes, but sometimes they're not implemented correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Processes really have to be followed, and you know, that's one of the things I work on with my clients. We document these processes, and you know, when I first started off, we were using Word, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's, especially with younger generations, they don't want to read a manual to find out what they need to do, and they'd rather just figure it out. But you know, I've started using other systems that are online. You can do screen recordings and things like that, so they can quickly see, here's a quick example of how to do this on your computer, how to, you know, enter in some expenses or something like that. And it makes it a little bit more interactive and easier to follow. And if you don't have people following your processes, it doesn't matter if they're documented or not. It's not going to help you.
Absolutely. We're almost out of time. So final thoughts. What would you like to leave people with?
You know, again, I would just like to reiterate that message that entrepreneurs really don't have to go at it alone. I've known a lot of business owners that struggle with that, and they wonder, you know, they get to a point in their business and they're wondering, man, is this really why I started a business? To feel alone, to work this many hours and not enjoy my life and my family? And it really doesn't have to be that way.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your wisdom with the world. We're going to end with his website, which is frameworksconsulting.solutions. George Mayfield, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's it for now. We'll see you next time.